Assata Shakur, Assata, an autobiography. Affirmation. I believe in living. I believe in the spectrum of beta days and gamma people. I believe in sunshine, in windmills, in waterfalls, tricycles, and rocking chairs. And I believe that seeds grow into sprouts and sprouts grow into trees. I believe in the magic of the hands and in the wisdom of the eyes. I believe in rain and tears and in the blood of infinity. I believe in life, and I have seen the death parade march through the torso of the earth, sculpting mud bodies in its path. I have seen the destruction of the daylight and seen bloodthirsty maggots prayed to and saluted. I have seen the kind become the blind and the blind become the bind in one easy lesson. I have walked on cut glass. I have eaten crow and blunder bread and breathed the stench of indifference. I have been locked by the lawless, handcuffed by the haters, gagged by the greedy. And if I know anything at all, it's that a wall is just a wall and nothing more at all. It can be broken down. I believe in living. I believe in birth. I believe in the sweat of love and in the fire of truth. And I believe that a lost ship, steered by tired, seasick sailors, can still be guided home to port. Chapter 1. There were lights and sirens. Zayed was dead. My mind knew that Zayed was dead. The air was like cold glass, huge bubbles and bursts. Each one felt like an explosion in my chest. My mouth tasted like blood and dirt. The car spun around me, and then something like sleep overtook me. In the background, I could hear what sounded like gunfire, but I was fading and dreaming. Suddenly, the door flew open, and I felt myself being dragged out onto the pavement, pushed and punched, a foot upside my head, a kick in the stomach. Police were everywhere. One had a gun to my head. "Which way did they go?" he was shouting. "Bitch, you better open your goddamn mouth or I'll blow your goddamn head off." I nodded my head across the highway. I was sure that nobody had gone that way. A few of the cops were off and running. One pig said we ought to finish her off, but the others were all busy around the car searching it. They were pulling and prodding. "You find the gun?" they kept asking each other. Later one of them asked, "Should we put her in the car?" "Nah, let her lay in the gutter where she belongs. Just get her out the way." I felt myself being dragged by the feet across the pavement. My chest was on fire. My blouse was purple with blood. I was convinced that my arm had been shot off and was hanging inside my shirt by a few strips of flesh. I could not feel it. Finally, the ambulance came and they moved me into it. Being moved was agony, but the blankets were worth it. I was so cold. The medics examined me. I tried to talk, but only bubbles came out. I was foaming at the mouth. "Where she hit?" they asked each other as if I wasn't there. They concluded their examination. I was relieved. "Let's move it," one of them said. "Okay, but wait a minute," said the driver. He got out, and he got out. "Hit twice," I heard him say. "We gotta wait." The driver slammed the door. He said something else, but I didn't understand it. Time passed. I was floating off again. I felt so weird, like a dream, a nightmare. More time passed. It seemed like forever. I was in and out, in and out. A rough voice asked, "Is she dead yet?" I floated off again. I heard another voice. "Is she dead yet?" I wondered how long the ambulance had been sitting there. The attendants looked nervous. The bubbles in my chest felt like they were growing bigger. When they burst, my whole chest shattered. I faded again, and it was down south in the summertime. I thought about my grandmother. At last, ambulance was moving. If I live, I remember thinking, I'll only have one arm. The hospital was glaring white. Everybody I see is white. Everyone seems to be waiting. All at once, they are in motion. Blood pressure, pulse, needles, etc. Two detectives come in. I know they're detectives because they look like detectives. One of them has a face like a bulldog and jowls hanging down the sides. They supervise the nurse as she cuts off my clothes. After a while, one of them dabs my fingertips with what looks like Q-tips. Later, I find out that this is the neutron activation test to determine whether or not I have fired a weapon. Another one then tries to fingerprint me, but he has trouble because my hand is dead. Give me the dead man's kit. He puts my fingers onto spoon-looking things used to fingerprint dead people. They begin to ask me questions, but a bunch of doctors come in. One of them, who appears to be the head doctor, examines me. He pokes and prods, throwing me around like a rag doll. Then, like he's going to kill me, he jerks me around so that I'm on my stomach. The pain is like an electric shock. I moan. "Don't cry now, girl," he said. "Why'd you shoot the trooper? Why'd you shoot the trooper?" I want to kick him in the face. I know he would kill me if he had the chance. I can see the scalpel slipping. One of the other doctors says something about calling the operation room. Hell no, is all I can think of. Hell no. After a while, they all leave. Then a black nurse comes into the room. I am glad as I could be to see her. She bends over me. What is your name?" she asks. "What is your name?" I think about it and decide to say nothing. If I tell them my name, they will know who I am and they will kill me for sure. "What is your name?" she keeps asking, enunciating each syllable in the way that people talk to someone who has trouble hearing or understanding. "What is your name? What is your address? Where do you live?" Her voice is getting louder. "We need your signature, miss," she says, waving a piece of paper in front of me. "We need your permission for treatment, in case we have to operate." She repeats the same thing over and over. "Who shall we contact in case of emergency?" I think that's kind of funny. "What is your name? Where do you live?" I close my eyes, wishing she would go away. She keeps right on talking. I drift out thinking about my arm. It is still there. Nerve damage, paralyzed, I heard them say. It has never occurred to me it isn't that bad. I remember thinking, I can live with that if I have to. More voices, other voices, grabbing my ear and my consciousness. "She can talk," one is saying. The doctor says she can talk. "Where were you going? What is your name? Where were you coming from? Who was in the car with you? How many of you were there?" I know she can hear me. I keep my eyes closed. One of them leans down real close to me. I feel his breath on my cheek. I can smell it. "I know you can hear me, and I know you can talk. And if you don't hurry up and start talking, I'm going to bash your face in for you." My eyes fly open in spite of myself. Immediately, they are all in my face, throwing question after question at me. I say nothing. After a while, I close my eyes again. "Oh, she doesn't feel good," one of them says in a sweet, mocking voice. "Where does it hurt? Here, here, here?" With each here comes a crash. I look around wildly, but no one is there. More thumps and punches, but none of them hurts as bad as my chest is hurting. I try to scream, but I know immediately that that's a mistake. My chest erupts, and I think I'm gonna die. They go on and on, questioning and bangs. I think they will never stop. A woman's voice. "Telephone." "Thank you," one of them says, giving me an ugly grin. They are gone. Another pig comes in, a black pig in uniform. He comes closer, and I see that he is not a cop, but a hospital security guard. He stands not too far from where I am lying, and I can see he is not at all hostile. His face breaks into a kind of reserved smile, and very discreetly he clenches his fist and gives me the power sign. That man will never know how much better he made me feel at that moment. The detectives come back in with the nurse. They begin to move the stretcher. My mind races. Where are they taking me? The only place I can think of is the operating room. When we arrive at the X-ray room, I'm thinking, because I have to move around, the X-rays are painful, but the technician is cool. X-rays are over, and I'm rolled down the hallway, determined to keep my eyes closed. All of a sudden, flashes of lights, my eyes pop open. This time they are taking my picture. The police photographer asks, "Do you want to give us a smile? Come on, give us a smile." I close my eyes again. We are moving. The stretcher stops. One of the pigs tells the nurse he has a headache. She volunteers to get him something. The stretcher is moving again. Where the hell are they taking me? Again, the light is changing, and although my eyes are closed, I can feel the difference. It feels like I'm in the dark. I can't take it any longer, and I look. The room is dark, but there is some light. My eyes slowly adjust. There is something lying next to me. I can see an outline, something in plastic, something. My mind slowly realizes that it is a man in a plastic bag, and that the man is Zayed. My body stiffens. My mind spins. One of the troopers says, "That's what's going to happen to you before the night is over if you don't tell us what we want to know." I say nothing, but inside I'm raging: dogs, swine, filthy pigs, dirty, slimy scum, bastards, son of bitches. I rage on and on. I wouldn't tell you the right time of day. I remember thinking, I wouldn't tell you that shit stinks. The night crawls along. Nurses, doctors, and troopers. I am still scared, but I am just as angry and evil as I am scared. The detectives are in and out, and when nobody is there except them, they get in their digs and bangs. But after a while, I don't think about them too much. I am thinking about living, about surviving, thinking about what is going to happen next. They're going to do what they're going to do, and there isn't much I can do about it. I just have to be myself, stay as strong as I can, and do my best. That's all. There is nowhere to run, and I am in no shape to try. I realize how isolated and vulnerable I am. What if I really do need an operation? I need help from the outside world. If I have to try to get word out to someone. The black nurse has been back and forth asking me the same questions. Each time I have closed my eyes until she goes away. I decide to ask her to get in touch with my people the next time she comes by. Maybe she'll be cool. She's my best shot. The guard is long gone. I doze off for a little while. When I wake up, a nurse and a priest are standing over me. The priest is mumbling and seems to be rubbing something on my forehead. At first, I don't understand what he is doing. Then it draws on me. Last rites are for dying. Go away, I say out loud. I don't have the strength to say anything else. But I know I don't want anybody's last rites. I'm not going to die. And even if I do die, I'm not going to die anybody's hypocrite. Nobody's hypocrite. The black nurse comes back and starts her questioning again. Before she can get started, I beckon her to come closer. There is no one else around. I ask her to get in contact with my lawyer, who is also my aunt. I give her my name and ask her to make the call herself. She has a hard time understanding me and keeps asking me to repeat my name. I can barely talk. Each time she asks me to repeat myself, I feel like screaming. Then it occurs to me that Assata is foreign to her ears. She has probably never heard the name before, so I give her my slave name. Then I give her the number, and she's off and running. 2 minutes later, detectives are on me like white on rice. They threaten and plead, reason, and offer me the world. They hurl question after question at me, acting crazier than before. One plays the nice cop who is trying to save me from the bad cop. If only I will cooperate. I am tired, and their act is even tireder. I can see exhaustion in their faces. The whole night is coming down on me. Their voices begin to sound far away. I can't take it anymore. They can go to hell. I'm going to sleep. This time I'm going out for real. When I wake up, the stretcher is moving. After a while, we arrive at the intensive care part of the hospital. The place is packed with nurses. I am elated. All I want to do is sleep. Soon I am drifting off again. I wake up and it's the next day. The doctors are making their rounds. One of them, an intern, I think, is very kind to me. They examine me and spend the rest of the morning doing blood tests, x-rays, EKGs, etc., etc. Soon I learn that they are going to move me again. I also find out that I'm in Middlesex County Hospital. I hear the nurses talking. They are glad I'm being moved because the police are driving them crazy. When they come to move me, it looks like a police parade. The room I am moved to, the rooms I moved to are called the Johnston Suite. I can't believe it. I have never imagined that hospitals have rooms like this. There is a sitting room, a huge hospital-equipped room where I am kept, a den, a kitchen, a full bathroom, and another little room whose purpose I will never learn. They transfer me to the bed and handcuff one of my legs to the side. I keep looking around. It is elegant and clearly for rich people. I am probably the first black person who has ever been in this room, and the only reason I am there is for security. They have sealed off the doors, and no one can enter through the sitting room next door, where 3 state troopers are stationed, 2 regulars and 1 sergeant. The police radio in the room crackles all day long. A carload of suspicious-looking colors in a white Ford coupe. A suspicious-looking Negro walking near a hospital in a blue jacket and sneakers. No suspicious-looking white people are reported. From listening to the police talk next door onto the radio, I learned that the hospital is saturated with state troopers. They seem to be under the impression that somebody is going to try and break me out. I feel better. The Demerol has me flying a little and makes it easier for me to lie in the contorted position I am forced into because of the cuff on my leg. Later that afternoon, it begins again. Detectives and more detectives. Questions and more questions. This time the questions are different. Now they want to know about the Black Liberation Army, how big it is, what cities it is in, who is in it, etc., etc. But the main focus of their question centers around the guy that got away. I am delighted. I figure that Sandiata is somewhere safe by now, cooling out. They are more careful where and how they hit me now. I guess they don't want to leave any marks. One sticks his fingers in my eye. I don't know what he has on his fingertips, but whatever it is burns like hell. I think I'm gonna be blind forever. He says he will keep doing it until I am completely blind. I close my eyes and hold them as tight as I can. He strikes me a few more times. Some of the stuff gets into my eyes anyways. Burning tears pour down my face, and my whole head is throbbing. I think he's going to keep on, but he begins to curse me, calling me all kind of nigger bitches. Finally, he and others leave. On one of those first days, a white doctor comes to examine me. He acts very nice, sweet as pie. He examines me slowly, the whole time making friendly conversation. I wonder what kind of specialist he is, since I haven't seen him before, and I know he isn't one of the regulars. He says he knows how terrible I must feel, and makes a big deal of protesting that I am chained to the bed. He keeps on talking, and after a while pulls a chair close to the bed. Then he starts to ask friendly little questions. The conversation goes something like this. Those guys on the turnpike are rough. They'll give you a ticket for anything. I take the turnpike every day. You live in Jersey? I live in Newark. You ever been there? You must really be lonely up here. I'll bet you really need someone to talk to. I went to medical school in New York. You're from there, aren't you? I get suspicious and say nothing to him. I tell him I want to go to sleep, and he leaves. I never saw him again. But to this day, I'm convinced he was some kind of police or FBI agent. On the 3rd or 4th day, most of my trouble came to an end. Well, not really, but the punch, bang, poke, and prod part of my troubles ended. A nurse with a German accent came to my aid. She was one of the morning nurses, very professional and exacting, to the point that she could be a pain in the neck, but she was a lifesaver. It was she who had first protested the tightness of the handcuff on my leg. My leg had begun to swell, and she insisted they loosen it and that the cuff be covered with gauze. Of course, as soon as she was gone, they tightened it again, but the gauze helped somewhat. I could tell by the little things she said and did that she knew what was going on. One morning she came in as usual, and after she finished her normal routine, she reached behind the bed, pulled at something, and then handed me an electric call button on a cord. Anytime you need me or need anything from the nurses, just press this button, she said. Don't be afraid to use it, she added, giving me a knowing look. I could have kissed her. Later, when she returned to the room, after the troopers realized I had the call button, one came in behind her. Is there any way to disconnect that thing? He asked. She might hurt someone with it or hurt herself. No, she said. There is no way to remove it. If you pull it out, it will just keep ringing in the nurse's station. She's having difficulty breathing and she needs it. Right on, I thought. Das is reaching. After that, whenever the police came within 2 feet of my bed, I would push the button. Finally, they gave up the idea of beating on me and contented themselves with threats and other kinds of harassment. A favorite was to stand in the door and point their gun at me. Each day was my last day on earth. Each night was my last night. After a while, I became accustomed, immune. Sometimes they would cock a gun I didn't know was empty, give a long, impassioned speech, and then pull the trigger. Other times, I was invited to a game of Russian roulette. They all expressed a bitter hatred for me. They were state troopers, and I was accused of killing one of them. Every day, there were 3 shifts of police. When they changed shifts, the 2 troopers would salute the sergeant. Some saluted an army salute, but others saluted like the Nazis did in Germany. They held their hands in front of them and clicked their heels. I couldn't believe it. One day, one of them came in and gave me a speech about how he fought in World War II on the wrong side. He went on, and there was no question that he believed everything he said. He talked about how messed up the world is, how decent people couldn't walk the streets. He said that if Hitler had won, the world wouldn't be in the mess it was in today. That niggers like me, no good niggers, wouldn't be going around shooting New Jersey state troopers. He went on to say that the white race had invented everything because they were smart and worked hard, that other races wanted to riot and use terrorism to take everything the white race had worked so hard to get. I had a hard time keeping my mouth shut. He talked about empires, the Roman, the Greek, the Spanish, the British. He told me white people created empires because they were more civilized than the rest of the world. White people created ballet and opera and symphonies. Did you ever hear of a nigger writing a symphony? He asked. Every day he gave me a speech about Nazism. Sometimes other Nazis would join him. I asked him if there were a lot of Nazis in the state trooper, but he just laughed and kept on talking. When I was in the Black Panther Party, we used to call the police fascist pigs, but I had called them fascist not because I believed they were Nazis, but because of the way they acted in our communities. As many times as I had referred to police as fascists, these shocked me by the truth of my own rhetoric. I later learned that the state troopers in New Jersey was started by a German. That their uniforms were patterned after some type of German uniform.